Vivian Doumpa. I have studied urban geography in the Netherlands. My background is in engineering. For some years I have been working as a freelancer in the Netherlands and collaborating with STIPO. And that's when the time came that I returned back to Greece to start doing some placemaking things, that we decided to establish also STIPO Thessaloniki. So, welcome. I would like to invite Hans Karssenberg from STIPO, Floortje Opbroek from Pakhuis Zwijger, and Jaap Modder from Deltametropool Association to introduce us to the Metropolitan field trip.
When I heard that Vivian made a step back to start her life here again in Thessaloniki, I thought this is the opportunity to bring a lot of people and discover the city. It's so fantastic to be here now. We were intrigued with Thessaloniki, we were attracted by all its youth, all its creativity, the beautiful situation by the sea, the quality of public space, the vibrance of the public space and how people use it. And also, I guess Thessaloniki has a beautiful story to tell about how to connect as a city to all the initiatives in the city and the city makers to make top-down and bottom-up come together.
What a warm welcome here in Thessaloniki. I've been told that Thessaloniki was the half-sister of Alexander the Great. Must be a beautiful girl.
I'm Floortje. I work for Pakhuis Zwijger. We are a cultural platform in Amsterdam and a platform for citymakers, actually. And I'm very excited to meet citymakers in Thessaloniki as well.
We have urban designers and landscape designers, people working for the city government. We have people working for culture and creativity, community and co-creation, city makers. We have development, people more on the development side, but also with their hearts in the right places, otherwise they wouldn't be in this group, right? These are the people we call the city makers. These people are all, what they have in common, they're all very curious, deeply curious on what's happening here, what is working well, what are the new things. And the other thing, and that's also how we selected them a little bit, they're also really nice to have a beer with. We're also doing this to try to build sustainable networks of city makers in Europe.
And use collective intelligence to really see the future.
I guess if you travel, hopefully you become a richer person.
Can you please introduce yourself to us?
I'm Tess Broekmans. I'm from Amsterdam, from the office called Oerhaan Urban Design. I'm an urban planner and designer.
My name is Jaap Modder. I'm an urban and regional planner and I have my own practice in Holland and abroad, mostly in Europe. I'm also a member of the board of the Deltametropool Association, which is an association which fosters metropolitan developments in the Netherlands.
I'm Sitske. I'm from Sitzoglou agency in spatial development. I'm focusing mainly on political decision-making processes and the governance of spatial development projects. Most of the times that involves a lot of different stakeholders with different interests.
I'm Stefan. I have my own agency, Conversation Next, and we work in also urban development, especially in the building of communities around projects in new parts of the city.
My name is Rinske and I founded my agency, Brand the Urban Agency, in 2007. We have a focus on the city and on city development. We develop campaigns, organize events and develop apps, all for the city and the urbanites.
I'm Jaap Chauvoer, grown up in Amsterdam and now happily working for the city of Amsterdam. So I'm a civil servant and I'm head of the bureau Broekplaatsen, which deals with affordable space for creatives in Amsterdam.
My name is Arwen Schram and I work for the municipality of Amsterdam.
I'm Ronald Schepers from Amsterdam and I'm working at a communication consultancy firm called Wit White. And within that consultancy I am mostly involved in participation projects for the city of Amsterdam, but also for the nationwide government. My specialty is referenda. So I've done in the Netherlands about 5 referenda, 3 on city level and 2 for part of the city.
You are?
Sitske.
My name is Wietse Kuiper from Holland, of the city of Apeldoorn, and I practice strategic changes, especially from the point of a neuro planner.
My name is Nancy van Asseldonk. I'm working at the Amsterdam School of the Arts, the Faculty of Cultural Heritage.
Beautiful. My name is Jan Oosterman. I work as a consultant on urban planning and tourism and recreation.
My name is Caro. I work for Art in Public Space and that's why I'm here.
Hi, my name is Bert Determan and I'm from the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. I'm the director of the theater there, the city theater there, and we are much involved in public space because we also are interested in programming public space, not only the theater but also public space. I like to be inspired here to find out how it works here, and I hear so many good stories about Thessaloniki.
I'm Percival Vandenberg from Holland, Utrecht, and I'm sort of a developer for special places.
Could you please introduce yourself to us?
Jan Jelle van Hasselt, owner of a communication consultancy in Amsterdam.
My name is Luc Tepe. I work at the municipality of Arnhem as architect of public space.
These are the people we call the city makers.
A warm welcome from the city of Thessaloniki.
I would really like to introduce you to the volunteers, to the expert volunteers that we have today. They are all students or they have just graduated from the School of Spatial Planning and Development Engineering, which is the same school that I have also graduated. So let me start with Yorgos, Adamantia, Elena, Konstantina, Maria, Kyriaki, Nikos, Stefania. Sorry, Kosmas. Sorry. Last but the best.
Σαπισμένο στη δίβη, ο κόσμος καίγεται, το δελτίο των 9 έχει σαλτάρει. Χρυσό το κλουβί και μέσα του εσύ είναι παιχνίδι του μυαλού η φυλακή σου.
And now I would like to introduce my dearest professor, Professor Liakou, the head of the Department of Spatial Planning and Development.
If we want to understand how these Greek cities developed, we have to understand that their contemporary history starts, in fact, by a big event, and always big events involve refugees. In fact, the contemporary urban growth in Greece is a result of the inflow of refugees in the 1920s.
Now I would like to invite Lina, the Vice Mayor for Urban Resiliency and Development Programs.
Thessaloniki is lively and friendly, workable and delicious. Thessaloniki also has the largest student population in the Balkans. Thessaloniki was also the birthplace of Kemal Atatürk and also was named the Jerusalem of the Balkans for its large Jewish population that, of course, after the Second World War almost completely disappeared. Thessaloniki has an important port, has a multicultural history and is a strategic geopolitical location. We usually like to say that Thessaloniki is a living lab. A lot of trends, a lot of movements have started from Thessaloniki and spread throughout Greece. Thessaloniki is a city in transition. And most importantly, we have an aging population, which means that on the one hand we have these 100,000 students in the universities, on the other hand, for every 15-year-old we have two 65-year-olds. This is something that we should think of how we design our urban space, our social structures, of how we address the youth in our city. At the same time, because of the economic crisis, we had the last years a drop of 29% of the GDP per capita. It was a huge drop. The unemployment status is at 30%, which skyrockets to 50% among the youth. Apart from the demographic challenges, the economic challenges, we have the urban challenges. But also there are a lot of governance challenges. Thessaloniki is a metropolitan area. We have 10 municipalities, with the city of Thessaloniki being the central and biggest one. On the other hand, we don't have metropolitan governance. In Greece, cities don't strategize, don't create long-term strategies, don't create visions. We just manage the everyday necessities and the everyday issues of the city. Launching this long-term strategy is a bit of a challenge. So we tried to reach out and see who can help us in doing so. But how we can create a holistic strategy, a long-term strategy that together with our stakeholders, together with our universities, we're going to redefine again what the city is about. Co-ownership of public space. On the one hand, bottom-up initiatives throughout the city, a strong optimism by the citizens that these initiatives actually have an impact. On the other hand, we have very poor quality of open spaces and in many cases conflict in urban spaces. So there's a general discussion about who owns the public space, how we manage it, what a good open space feels like in Thessaloniki, how we can reuse the empty spaces, the inner courtyards, for example, in order to increase open space, how we create opportunities for a new type of living together. We started creating a comprehensive long-term strategy for Thessaloniki, a strategy looking forward, what Thessaloniki should look like in 2030. That's why we participated in the 100 Resilient Cities network, pioneered by the Rockefeller Foundation. I know that Rotterdam is also part of the network. So we started our Resilient Thessaloniki trip. We rebranded the city doubled its numbers in tourism and started thinking how should we sell Thessaloniki. We started collaborating and communicating with other cities, with other networks. And of course, we created a safety net for the most vulnerable.
Coming here to Thessaloniki, what were your expectations? What were you looking to find?
I came here to get a different view on a city and on questions that the city has for its development and its problems and how Greece deal with all these kind of questions. So it can inspire me, like what are the good examples and what are the wrong examples, so I can take it further in my own development, in my own profession as being a civil servant for the municipality of Amsterdam.
The general question we have with all these metropolitan field trips is explore the relationships between the institutional domain, the urban and regional planners of the city, the government, and on the other side, the bottom-up movement, actions by the civil society, by the academia, and how they interplay with each other and what kind of results evolve from it. That's the general questions in all the metropolitan field trips we did until now. And that's also the question for Thessaloniki. And on the other side, we realize that the national context and the actual history, actual state of the economy is always a very important factor in seeing what you see.
What were your expectations coming to Thessaloniki? What were you looking to find?
That's a very good question. I've been on a couple of trips with STIPO. First one was Tirana, and last time we went to Stockholm and Oslo. And I always find it very interesting to meet people who are, just as we are, city makers. And not the old school city makers, but the new generation. So I think I was just looking for new inspiration and meeting new people.
And have you found that?
Oh, I definitely have.
I think one of the most important things is how to cope with all the dynamics which are in the city and the whole country. So today was a day in which we could really experience all the dynamics from close, from nearby. There were maybe some things I didn't thought about earlier, like I've discovered the P word, politics. Don't ask anybody to change something because politics are out of sight. They've lost trust. There are two sides on this. Yesterday night we heard Lina talk about the 5 points for Thessaloniki, and I think she has her finger on the right spot. But when I talk to the people in Thessaloniki, they say, well, the real people, the activists. Today we met a lot of activists, happy activists who do it their way. They say, well, we know her, we talk with her. But if we go to the whole municipality, it's always no, no, no. So there's a great gap between what is said and what can be delivered.
I was wondering why the city is a capital of youth and how the municipality is related to their youth and how they work together with them, or why is it the capital of youth?
For me, it's really to observe the city, to experience what is it telling me, where should I go, what makes it attractive, and then you can explore the city in the most natural way and trying to find out, would I advise somebody to go here?
And what is your expectations from this trip to Thessaloniki? What are you looking to find in Thessaloniki?
I'm hoping to find a very interesting culture, a very interesting city in how it's developed the way it did. And I'm especially interested in how they made the new boulevard and how that works and how the people use that new space of the city. Because I don't know any city who made a new boulevard and then occupying a part of the sea. So I'm very curious about that part.
Well, I see a lot of things that are the same in Thessaloniki as in Rotterdam. Harbor, the city, the population, like what kind of population there is. I have heard a lot of good stories about people working together and creating activity in public space together with municipality, but also with owners. So I'm looking for examples to try it out in my own public-private partnership in Rotterdam.
You have seen a little bit of Thessaloniki so far. Today is the first day. Could you find any similarities with any of the Dutch cities?
Well, first thing is it's a big city and it's bigger than Amsterdam.
Yeah.
The Amsterdam city is 800,000 people. This is 1.1 million. But if you look at the region, they're pretty comparative. A week ago I was in Poland, in Gdansk, and what you see here is also a linear pattern of settlements. But on the other side, what we see also is that it's dispersed. The whole idea of this linear, compact city is now under threat of dispersion. And I think that's one of the similarities with the Dutch situation. Although it's more mild, this whole tendency in Holland. It's much more harsh here in Thessaloniki. So we are going to look at some sharper scenarios here in this city.
So what are your expectations coming to Thessaloniki? What are you looking to find here?
When Hans told me that he was going to Thessaloniki, I thought, yeah, I have to join because my full name is Thessaloniki and I never been to Thessaloniki, so that was the reason number one. And I already did some other trips with STIPO, and I like that they make sure that you really meet the local people and that you see much more than just the buildings and the things that you would see as a tourist, but that you really get into local life. I think that we are going to see a lot of that here these days.
What was the first word, idea that came to your mind when you heard Thessaloniki?
The sea. Yeah. Probably everybody says the sea. That's what I think of when I hear the word. But when we were just driving with the bus, what I liked is that it's a bit messy. It's not a clean city. It is, you see, yeah, it's all a bit old and a bit dirty, and you see people walking in the streets and there are small shops and a lot of life. Yeah. And that's what I hoped for, and I think that's what's quite interesting. It's not a very neat city that with a lot of tourists. For me, it's attractive in a city if it's a bit dirty. Yeah. It reminds me of the Middle East, and I like that a lot. I've been to Iran, but also in Egypt, so it reminds me a bit of that, and I like that. But it also reminds me a bit of Marseille, so this the French harbor city, which also has this Mediterranean feel and which is also a bit messy. So those are, for me, very attractive examples.
My expectations were to find a very poor crisis city, which is still beautiful in its crisis.
For Thessaloniki, we have certain specific questions, and I just heard from the vice mayor some things about demographics, about the state of the economy. 50% of the youth is jobless. It's an aging city, although there are a lot of young people, youth, city of youth. But on the other side, it's aging. Population is decreasing, so there are some serious problems we should taken into account, and in that context we will study this interplay between what is the government doing, how do they perform, and what's happening on the other side.
What are your expectations from this trip? What are you looking to find in Thessaloniki?
So we've been organizing these Metropolitan field trips for quite some time throughout all of Europe. So what I'm expecting to see is what we saw in previous field trips, is to meet locals who are active in shaping their city, creative entrepreneurs who have new visions of how they should participate to how Thessaloniki develops, maybe some people from the municipality who have some interesting ideas that we could take back to Amsterdam and maybe connect to others in Europe or in the country.
Do you know anything about Thessaloniki?
No, I knew very little about Thessaloniki, except that people told me that there's a lot of very active and creative people here. So I'm actually representing a network of citymakers, so that's the people that I just described who are actively engaged in shaping their urban surroundings. So I knew that that's what I could expect when I came here, but I also know that Greece has been going through a very rough period. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to see, and I guess what I'm hoping to see is that people are finding good ways to deal with that and to keep their city going and to deal with that. So that's what I'm expecting.
So I'm very curious to see how communities work in Thessaloniki and what are the drivers for that community. Why do people work together? And is it because of something the government does or because of something the government doesn't do? And that's what sparks the community. And what are the results? So what kind of changes do you get if there's a lot of room for people to develop things for themselves? Now, the only things I have in mind is that there are a lot of youth that are involving changing the city. So it's a youth culture, and that brings along a lot of creativity. And I'm hoping for good weather and to live on the boulevard and on the water. But that's the only thing I know. So that's what I like.
I'm just curious how other cities deal with space and affordable rent and creatives. What does creators mean for a city? Can you influence the habitat? And the creative quality in a city is, of course, in the brain of humans. So I'm always curious in other cities, like Thessaloniki, what policy, what instruments, what stakeholders are in a city to work on that objective, to keep up young creatives, to give them a perspective of an affordable space.
It's my third trip. I previously was in Rome and in Berlin. And one of the things I noticed was that the relation between initiatives in the city and the local government can be very decisive in what happens or what doesn't happen. In Rome, it was fighting against the city. In Berlin, the city, together with the people from initiatives, were working together. My question for Thessaloniki was, how does it happen in Greece? And is it influenced by the crisis?
I was expecting to find the city in great distress by the economic crisis, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but I thought maybe if the situation is very bad, people will do things that normally people won't do, and that can be very interesting to see.
I saw a documentary about a year ago, I think, on Dutch television about your mayor, and I was really impressed. And I thought, well, here's somebody who takes advantage of the economic crisis here in Greece to do things differently, bottom-up economic transition. So I was fascinated by that. And then I saw the program of the Pakhuis de Zwijger, and I looked forward to meet, let's say, some of the initiatives in which bottom-up projects hopefully are successful implemented here in the city of Thessaloniki. That's what I expected to be confronted with.
Five groups. The themes that we're going to have in order to walk around: active citizenship and youth, placemaking and reclaiming of public space, creative economy and culture, quality of life and lifestyle, entrepreneurship and innovation. The initiatives that we're going to be meeting and the people behind them.
Welcome to Make Creative Spaces. Me and my co-founder, colleague and friend was thinking about doing something different for the city, for the country and for ourselves basically. So during a conversation over lunch, and this is what happens in Greece, someone thought of why not make a different kind of shop, a DIY shop, a construction shop, and eventually a co-working space, as long with the whole thing that it's very trendy in Europe for the last 10 years, which is a fabrication lab. Finding a place and then transform it into something that we like. When we started the shop, we became a place where each small community of people who were creating different things from their hands or by computers were coming here and we were becoming a small, let's say, community of people here in Thessaloniki. So imagine that it's a good start to have a festival, which only includes people who are using their homes or the shops of their fathers to make things, and it's not well known outside our small community. So giving a chance to them to show what they can do to the city and let the city engage what they can have from their own people who live there and work there. We made Stamp Festival. It was the birth of Stamp Fest. Stamp, it's S-T-A-M-P. It's all the different small communities of people who are creating different things in this city, which everyday people don't meet and don't know where to find. They come together and they have workshops to show to people what you can do or what they can find in their own city, which basically they don't know. They don't know the existence of people doing things in their own city.
Γιώργος, Τούλας. Παράλλαξη means it's a photography word. In photography, it's the way you see the things. You see the things in another option, another way. It's a Greek word. Alternative, yes, something like that. We are trying to combine the magazine, the website, and all these actions to awake the city and the people of the city and make them part not only of the problem but also of the solution of some of those things that are happening here in Thessaloniki. We, Parallaxy, and all the people that we are collaborating. Thessaloniki has a strong tradition to organizing things. Not only the film festival, but also the song festival started here because of the international fair, which was and is a very strong institution. So the film festival started here in 1960, and it's a very, very strong film festival. And we are now making some changes to open it more in the city and to organize things all over the year. Thessaloniki had a very, very strong tradition in cinephile audience here, and people were organizing cinema clubs and things like that, and the film festival has more than 120,000 visitors every year, so it's a cinema city. There are many closed shops all over the city because of the crisis, so we open many places like that and put inside installations and artists to create things. We created 2 parks. We are trying to keep distance from all the authorities, like the municipality, like the government, because we are writing critical articles every day. We had a serious problem in Thessaloniki. In Thessaloniki there is only one kind of public transportation, the buses, which is not public, it belongs to some people, and for 50 years now they had the idea to stop everything else that was proposed, like the tram. This city used to have tram until 1950s. They stopped it. It used to have boats because the coastlines, but they stopped it. The metro had serious problems, and until now it didn't finish. It has to be finished 6 years ago, but it's still going on and going on because this organization that has the buses puts all the problems to be just a monopoly. No, it's not public. They took money from the government, but it is privatized from the beginning. Yes, it's private. Yes, so it's private. From the beginning since now. Thessaloniki has the biggest surrounding forest in Greece that nobody goes there. So we organized with the municipalities that are near the forest a huge project there. So we worked in this part for more than 3 years, not alone, but with the help of Goethe Institute, of the American Embassy. We invited people from the United States, from Germany, and from other places. We also invited a very talented guy from Amsterdam. He did a hub near the port of Amsterdam. You're from there. Yes, he was here in 2012. We did a big project that's called Future from the City.
The suburban farmers.
Georgas. I am a founder of this suburban cultivators, the so-called communal gardens, community gardens. But I want you to have in mind that this is a self-organized endeavor. There are no municipality involved in this, and we are called PERCA. PERCA are the initials of suburban cultivators in Greek. We are not an NGO. We don't have an article of association submitted to the court. We are just an informal group. But this doesn't mean that we don't have concrete principles that everybody should obey in order to come in here. This is what we required from the new beginners. If you want to join the group, you have to follow some principles, which are natural cultivation, no chemicals, friendly environmental cultivation. That means economizing water. So we collect the water from the rooftop. We don't spend a lot of water. And if you accept these principles, you are accepted to be a member in this group. In these principles, we came in 2011, 30 people, 30 families, and by now 120 families. Don't forget that Greece is in the era of crisis now, and there are many different kind of people. People in need of vegetables maybe, people that they need psychological help through gardening. Don't forget the quote, the saying, psychology is a good thing, but with gardening you have also the tomatoes at the end. So the principles were natural cultivation, no chemicals, and also we do not trade our products. Why? Because we are not a very much civilized country. We don't have the legislation to help these experiments to sell their products in the so-called producers market. That's why we said, no, we don't allow to trade what you produce in here. And we are not just very happy cultivators, only tomatoes and cucumbers. We have our political beliefs, of course. We came here to protect the green. This stupid city that you like has only 2.5 square meters green per person, where the European acceptable threshold is 10. This is an ex-military camp. It is an abandoned military camp. It belongs to the people. Here, we don't have chiefs. The emperor, on top of everything, is the General Assembly. Of each perka, we started one perka at the very beginning, and by now there are 7 perkas, which means 7 gardens. And we have the General Assembly of all perkas once every 3 months. I would describe myself as being an active citizen. Nothing more than that. Because, now, ancient Greek lesson. What does it mean in English? Idiot, stupid. It's the same in French. They say idiot. And I think it's the same in Italian. In Dutch. But idiot in ancient Greek and also in modern Greek means the person that he is not involved in public things. He is so stupid, he deals only with his own life, not interfering with public life. Idiot. Idiotis. I try not to be idiotis. This is a workshop of human solidarity in these difficult times of my country. If someone is in need to take 3 tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever, he's free to come and take. That's why we don't have locks in our garden.
Πολιτική και διαφορά και ψέματα είναι φόρμες, ξέρεις πως μια ζωή καλύτερη σου αξίζει. Τα μάτια σου πια κοιτάνε μπροστά, το παραθύρο έξω βλέπουν τα όνειρά σου.
My name is Mariana Koti. I'm the co-owner of the cultural studio here in Thessaloniki. It's called Opbroek, and I'm very happy to have you here.
We designed everything and we actually manufactured everything in here. We wanted to be a creative space which is also a co-working space for freelancers, but people in Thessaloniki maybe they were not ready for that.
We heard in the presentation that you both studied in Barcelona. A lot of Greeks, of course, as you know, the last 5-6 years are moving away, the so-called brain drain. Why did you decide to come back and start your career here?
That's a question that for me it doesn't have have a clear answer. It was very personal. Thessaloniki is a city very near to my heart, not only because my family, my friends are here. It's because I think it's a very live city with a very big social capital and very big cultural capital too. I believe that gives me strength as a city to go on and to keep doing what I'm doing. And every corner I can find something very interesting and very appealing to work with and to have it in my mind. One of the things that I love in Thessaloniki is that it is a very multicultural city. As it is a port, we have influences from the Balkans, from the Orient, from Europe. We can see all these elements together. And it's a place that I find very creative and that gives me many things to work and to think and to care about even. I think this is why I stayed in Thessaloniki.
Sometimes we are wondering also, because it is so difficult. We opened this business like December of 2012, so it was really hard times politically and financially for Greece. But we started and now it is a non-stop work in progress.
Our goal for the future is to promote crowdfunding even more. We think that it's the answer, one of the answers to this bad economic environment that we live, which is very toxic. I think it's a response to the budget cuts. I mean, creators cannot find money. It's a full-time job to find money. No, I mean, if you want to go after one of the European programs or a loan or find investors, it's a full-time job.
Thessaloniki is so special for me because I can see the sea. The sea always travels with you. The mind also travels with the sea, and it's something that gives me space to think and to clear my thoughts and to begin working all over from the start.
Τα μάτια σου πιάω, γεμάτα φωτιά, μια λύση για λαφρά. Μαργαριτά, ανεπίδεση, ρεζιστεντιά, δώσε τρόπο στην οργή. Μαργαριτά, ανεπίδεση, ρεζιστεντιά, δώσε τρόπο στην οργή.
So this is the place we are talking about. This is Holzmarkt along the former separation wall, and Holzmarkt is between Alexanderplatz and Ostbahnhof. 18,000 square meter big. In 16th century it was wooden market, and then it was area for the gas station, and that's why it was contaminated, and after the war it was abandoned. So it all began in 2004 with illegal party, with a group of party pioneers came there with little sound system, just started to party, and the place was so charismatic and attractive that people just wanted to stay, and they started to communicate with the owner of the land. It was a partly state company, Berlin City Cleaning Company, so which had also no idea what to do with the space, and when the guys asked, can we use it for another year to make a little club, they were not against the idea. So this was the beginning of the Bar 25, which grown in 7 years its existence from this abandoned place to a cultural hotspot with theater, with wellness area, with beautiful place for children's party. We had amazing summer parties, and people from all over the world came there and had time of their life. For us, to being here, we are just representatives of big collective called Holzmarkt, and there are many people staying behind us.
Platz was started by a group of people inspired by Berlin Holzmarkt, so it was natural that they started a new project, Berlin-Belgrade Connection. Platz, Holzmarkt and Street Smart are a collective which in the organization of BBC gathered the volunteers who help migrants by raising money through humanitarian concerts and exhibitions. The Platz goal is establishing such cultural connections with the other cultural centers in Balkans and in Europe.
So what we're trying in Berlin was to change the politics. We were dealing with our properties in the old days after reunification. We were selling everything to the best price we could get for one day and didn't care about that maybe next year. this property has doubled its price. And so we were selling properties, getting money, in the same moment we were losing money. So now we were changing the politics in how we deal with our properties. Instead we said not selling but renting. And one of the reasons we did this was the experience with Holzmarkt. Mario and Anja were telling you this day about their experience they had. And we in the parliament had the experience that this was a very bad situation because we couldn't give them this property. And so we changed the laws, and now the problem could be solved in a different way. And so we understood by dealing with these problems that the subculture, the music scene in Berlin, was the fundament for all the creative business. 20 years, 25 years in Berlin, no one cared in politics about what they were doing. Now the situation has changed, and we have to try to deal with them. And then we realized that some other cities are interested in this experience. How did it happen that Berlin was so quite successful, or is now with this subculture, with this music scene? And so 2013, that's the end of the circle, we got to Thessaloniki. We were really amazed about the inspiration, about the wilderness, about the creativity that's here in the city. Many of the people in Berlin didn't know. And this was something we said, okay, maybe we should start to connect each other more internationally. And the Holzmarkt guys and Dimitri Hegemann from Tresor and others, they were real pathfinders in this. And we said, okay, maybe we should use this as a way of communication, a way of inspiration to get more experience from other cities and to develop the experience in our city. And so we started this network, Thes Berlin, in 2013. And we had some experience with the city government. So when we started in 2013, it was the first time that they told us that the city government was talking to the young creative people in the city. And now we saw yesterday and today Lina Liakou, she is in the city government and she is doing, to my opinion, a very good job. And Yanis Boutaris is also telling us that this is an important thing. So our idea is to work further on this project, and we had the next step that we decided to do now, because we said we have a lot of activities we want to cooperate here in the city. And we want to cooperate where the local activists are working on. It's not that sometimes they say, okay, here comes the Germans, they know everything better than the rest of the world, so that's not our attitude at this platform. But we want to say that, okay, we have some ideas and we want to learn from others, and we want to start new kind of cooperation. And so some of us said in Berlin, okay, we go to Thessaloniki and we establish a Greek company. We establish a Greek company here in Thessaloniki that is a partner for creative business. And we were for a while looking for a name for this company, and finally we decided to name it Octopus Garden. And so this company shall be a platform of new ways of cooperation between initiatives here in Thessaloniki and local activists to present new projects, to finance new projects, and to establish new ideas of international cooperation.
I would like to tell something about Amsterdam, about the Art Factory policy or Broekplaatsen policy. Broekplaatsen, you might translate it towards Art Factory. In essence, it's a community which contains definitely creativity. So, artists, creativity, community towards the neighborhoods, towards cultural, creative entrepreneurship. It's a container issue, but definitely on creativity. It's quite special that in Amsterdam we have within the government a Bureau Broekplaatsen, which I'm heading. And this Bureau Broekplaatsen is a team of civil servants dealing all the time how can we facilitate initiatives from bottom up and make the dream come true, because they want to make an art factory somewhere in town.
Okay, people who are with one, like you, Mina, will come with me. So it's like an arcade, it's like a sea, imagine of the arcades. It has 4 streets around it. Imagine it's a block. It's not even just one building. So it's a block that has also outside shops on the street and also inside shops, inside the arcade. No, it's not yet for sale. It's for rent. It's not the whole of it. You can rent maybe parts of it. The prices, let's say, per lot are more or less what the prices are in downtown, so you can even find maybe a shop for A small one, like 400 euros. Next building.
We have to talk about Caravanserai. It is located in the corner of Venizelos and Babaka streets. It's Turkish word. Sarai means palace, and sarai were inns where travelers would stay and which involved in the business and shopping centers with many shops, rooms, yards and galleries. And the city hall was housed here for 53 years, from 1958 to until 2011.
Today it's a parking lot which is easily accessible thanks to its location. It has been a parking lot for almost 50 years.
Next building. There's no public interest in the building, so it's all private. Not one family, I think each property has its own owner. It is in the neighborhood, maybe you have been through Valaurit with all the recreation. There are still bars around it, but imagine around the whole building you would find textile shops. They were forced by gentrification to leave, and now bar owners don't even have the money to put even the bar again back there. So there is this kind of tension between old commercial center and recreation and gentrification in a sort of way, but that stopped because of the crisis though. This year's Stamp Festival, it was about this building again. So we have all the creative and makers movement wanted to come in, again no follow-up. Next building.
We have the case of Star Amodiano. Star means arcade. It's a food market in the historic center of Thessaloniki.
There's an association of the owners of each shop inside, and sometimes there are two shops with the same owner. And because there are so many of them, it's always difficult to communicate. 44% has recently been for sale. The municipality has been in negotiations with the state whether they could take it, and they still are on negotiation. Because the municipality of Thessaloniki doesn't have a municipal market, as most of the cities have their own.
I was visiting Thessaloniki and met so many sympathetic and nice people, which made me come back again. And firstly step into Modiano market. And I talked, I guess 6 hours. I accompanied a butcher there. And he told me a lot of his memories, of his past, of his childhood, nearly grew up in this market. I guess today you explored the place and you can rethink how I felt at this place. It's a magical place somehow, because it's a contrast what it's saying. It's a market in decline, but it's a really historical place, and it's an authentic building. And I realized this is my bachelor project. When someone asked me, I was like, I go to Thessaloniki and realized my bachelor project there. You see, there are small shops, and every shop for me was kind of an individual microcosmos. And together with the market, I took it as a symbol for a situation in the whole of Greece. You can visit the website at agorasalonika.ch. This is the website. I would wish this market to be one with the salesman.
Been for 3 days now in Thessaloniki, so I guess this is the right time to ask you 3 very simple questions about your experience here. What does Thessaloniki sound like to you? What is the sound of Thessaloniki?
The city sounds like voices and people and music, but also like a lot of traffic.
It sounds like energy, like vibrance. Yeah.
Especially now, like rain is falling. But this morning I made a run and I experienced the city in a totally different way. A lot of birds I heard. So the biodiversity, during daytime you can't hear it at all. In the morning I noticed it. Birds singing in the city, and especially when we were on a couple of rooftops today, you hear actually quite quick silence. That's funny, but really city sounds.
Thessaloniki sounds quiet but vibrant at the same time. It's actually a very good question because it's not something that you normally pay attention to, but I feel like it sounds different in different parts of towns. If you go closer to the sea, that's of course when you hear the ocean, you hear the kind of activity that normally goes on the seaside. Of course, it sounds like there's a lot of traffic as well because you hear a lot of cars. But it's quiet in a sense that it doesn't seem like people from here are very loud, like the way they talk, and maybe the Greek language is a bit more calm and quiet. So that's my first impressions.
It's quiet. It's a quiet city. It's not so trembling, nervous. It looks like a city in economic crisis. It looks like.
It sounds like lots of traffic. It's a very noisy city. I remarked that when you are on the street and somebody wants to tell something, it's very hard to listen because there's a lot of noise, mostly from the traffic.
It sounds like easygoing and it sounds like no stress.
I recorded it yesterday night. It was the sound of a lot of people talking, and it was about 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So it's a vibrating city. That's what's nearest to me.
Sound, birds. And it's funny because it's not a green city, but there's this place, there were so many birds. And I had a early walk this morning from 6 till 8 in the morning. I walked in the city and those birds.
It's a blur, and I'm a bit disappointed about the fact that Thessaloniki, in my opinion, but also in the opinion of the people I've met, doesn't have any identity. So there's no sound.
What does Thessaloniki sound like to you? What is the sound of the city?
Energy, love, colors.
The city sounds like very vibrant, and a lot of entrepreneurship under the young people is here.
Something different also. Everywhere where we came, we were very welcome. And that's not a smell, but well, I think people are very open, want to go into discussion. So I think talking in resilient cities is very important to have the openness and to look forward and have the power in that. It was a very exciting day, and popped up a lot of ideas. But I think most important is to fix the bridge in structure, organizational structure. I think that will help the city.
And if you could point that out, what does the city smell like? Is there anything particular that comes to mind walking around? What are the smells of the city?
Ooh, that's also a very good one. The ocean, of course. It doesn't really smell, it has like a typical ocean smell, but there's something in the air, maybe just the humidity that makes it smell like you're near the ocean. Again, traffic, you do smell like, what do you call those? Fumes? Pollution, I guess. Very good food every once in a while, so that's very pleasant. But it smells nice. A bit dusty maybe sometimes, yeah.
It smells a little bit like food, a little bit like smoke and pollution of gases of cars.
Neutral. I'm not steered by any dominant smell. For example, in a very busy city like Milan or Amsterdam, of course you have more auto and motoped gas around you. And that's not the case here.
How does it smell? Well, yesterday I smelled the sea, and what I noticed is that it's very clean. The city is very clean.
The smell, I miss the smell of the country, and then the only thing is the smell of the transport on the road, cars and petrol, and it's something you have to do something about it because that's missing. An authentic smell of the country itself is missing.
What does it smell like?
Well, I love the bakeries, of course. I've heard about the triangle specialty with the cream in it, so I hope to taste that one. I hope to get that one today.
To you it smells like bugata.
It smells like sweet smells of all kinds of cakes and a soft touch of the sea. And it smells like optimism.
I love the smell of the food and the sea.
It smells of history, the sea and spices.
Traffic.
Cars, a lot, and also of the sea.
What does the city smell like?
We had lovely dinner, so I think the food, yeah.
Rain at this moment.
And what does it feel like? What is the vibe of the city?
It feels very relaxed. It's actually very strange. Like, you know that the city's in crisis or the country's in crisis, so you imagine that people feel very stressed, but it's actually very laid back. But maybe that's also a consequence of a city in crisis because, people can't do anything, so they just, wait, maybe. Although I have to say that I haven't met many people who just wait, like they're very active. But it feels very relaxed. Yeah, very easygoing.
It's a relaxed sphere. I don't feel much tension. People just walking around that do not seem very much in a hurry.
It feels like to relax.
To me it feels relaxed and it doesn't feel like it's in distress at all. Maybe it's a hard time, but it will just go on and people seem to enjoy life here.
It has got a vibe. It's a city of youth, and I recognize that. And it's also a city of exploring new possibilities.
It feels like I want to explore further. So it's triggering me. It's a very, very strange observations for me as a city. Almost dangerous to walk around sometimes. When I look at constructions, at buildings.
If it's really about a feeling, it's safe. You said Floor easygoing, and I walked around on my own very early in the morning, and I really felt comfortable, safe. It's a big city, but there's no aggression.
I actually feel the same because what I noticed first when we drove into the city is that the city lights aren't very bright. They seem dimmed, maybe because of to save money, to save expenses. I don't know, maybe it's just a style. But then even when you walk around without that much light, it feels comfortable and safe. Yeah, definitely.
It's a happy city, and I'm also surprised by that. It's a happy city. If you compare it, for instance, to the vibes in the streets of Amsterdam or other big cities, this is a very gay community. People are not depressed. Perhaps a bit dancing on the volcano, I don't know, but it's a happy city.
What is the vibe of the city? What does the city feel like?
Very positive and a welcome, and I feel very good in the city. Yeah, I like it.
Not as I expected, more modern-like, denser than I expected, and friendly, and has a soft side.
I'm very touched by the speech that the local mayor gave, because it is showing a city that can be vulnerable. I like that.
The vibe is optimistic, the vibe is young, and I'm surprised to see so many people relaxed everywhere. So optimistic is a word that pops to my mind if you smell, hear or taste Thessaloniki.
And last question, what does Thessaloniki feel like?
That I definitely will come back within this year.
The vibe is that there is a lot happening behind the walls that you see when you're walking on the streets. That's what I see, and that's incredible because you think, oh, that's all residential buildings, and then you go inside, and then you are in a really vibrant company that is entrepreneuring on the edges of economy. So they are finding the niches in the market, and I think in a few years it's going to be great. The economy is going to be very alive.
Very optimistic. Thank you,
Yes.
Sitke.
You're welcome.
I am impressed by the ideological, let's say, vibe in the city. And I'm also a bit, let's say, disappointed about the cynicism towards the Thessalonical government and the political administration. But I'm mostly impressed by the optimistic attitude and energy of the young people in the city.
I bring home a bunch of business cards, but also the start of a couple of collaborations. Yeah, this was a really fruitful trip for me.
Can you give us one example?
Well, one of them is the guys from Parenthesis. That's the event agency, and they're organizing a couple of festivals. I'm thinking about bringing one of those festivals to the Netherlands, and I think I can share my expertise and experiences with organizing festivals with them. We have a couple. The Rotterdam Rooftop Days is one. Yeah, the one we're thinking about bringing to the Netherlands. Yeah, that is about music documentaries. I think it's called Re-Edit or something. Yeah, I really found one party in the Netherlands already interested. I think we have a good chance on that.
You're really quick.
I do. That's my way of working. I'm from Rotterdam. We're very direct.
What I more experience is a lot of hidden, homegrown activities. Even there in our country, with all the luxuries of a social network and when you get unemployed or whatever, which is organized, that you here see that they are reinventing the system where we can learn from. So voluntary work as a platform for creating work, that's what I definitely bring home back. I was working on something there which only supports me in thinking how that can work. I operate myself that way, but when I see when a country from within is moving in that way, I think that's a very nice way of personal development, empowerment, and getting connected in your own town.
My conclusion is that lots of initiatives take place on its own without real support by the city, and that the crisis is one of the reasons for that, because the funding is not available, is not enough knowledge and professionalism in municipality to support. There is a good cooperation, I think, between the NGOs and between the initiatives. At least they help each other, is my impression. But the cooperation with the formal powers, they are much less.
In order to have the city, if we have to do something, and if we had to need something, it would be a collaboration of what, as individuals, I'm not waiting for a central government or the municipality to do something. They don't have to do anything. It's our responsibility to come together as girls from Opbroek, guys like Anastazia who works Reworks, or Costas in Edit Festival, and get together. There are only 25, I think, festivals in Thessaloniki, which are 25 guys that we know each other. We have to make a stand, and we should get involved and show the way of what this city should be to the main government or the municipality. We don't have to wait for them. This is what I would like to have after so many years. A main collaboration of what this city should go forward to, where it should lead. We never think of what should lead. We just do things. This is our Greek way. We do things. We just like plant a tree. Oh, it's gonna grow. We don't care if it's gonna end up in the building or outside or cutting heads of people with bikes. We just plant the tree. That's not the way to do it. You have to make a schedule. Where do you want this city to be in 10 years, 20 years? We don't do this. We don't have a chance of getting out of anything.
Thessaloniki isn't it a resilient city?
Because you're so far away from what it should be, the opportunities to make now a step is really huge. That's what I feel. But it needs, of course, some financial organization within the country. And that's, I think, where the challenge is to get that together.